Okay, we're good.
So it's 6:30 now, so let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Today is Thursday, May 16th, 2024. And first order of business is to review the minutes from our last meeting. Oh, sorry. So sorry. Any citizens and comments? First of all, welcome Jennifer Evans. Thank you so much for coming today. Do you have any comments you'd like to share with us?
No comment.
Well, thank you for coming. Okay, if we could, then let's go ahead and go to the minutes. Section,
Agenda item C1.
agenda item C1, yes, thank you. So I actually had a question on the minutes from last time. There's a sentence under section C6, Reserve Parks and Recreation Departmental Update. There's a sentence that says the first event scheduled is the R.L. Turner 1974 class reunion. So forgive me, this is really a procedural question. So yeah, that's what we said, but then that's not actually what happened. So I'm just curious, do we need to make any adjustment to that? No, so that's what was said, so we're good. Okay.
We keep it the way it said
Okay,
time, and then we would make a search committee tonight for future minutes.
When we talk about the,
okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
That's- Appreciate your clarification on that. Thank you.
the board member report.
Okay. So does anybody have any comments or anything, any revisions we need to make to the minutes?
I make a motion to accept it to the time session.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Adrian.
thank you. Brenda. Okay, so the next section is Parks Project Update, section C2.
Okay. I think I'm gonna have to, give me 1 second. Share. Event. Division. Okay, well, I thought I could share that on there, but I guess it. Okay, there it goes. Okay, so Mark and I will go ahead and kind of tag team through the updates. I think we've transposed everything from your agenda actually onto the highlights onto and I gave you guys all the presentation hard copy. So, but we'll kind of go. I forgot I could put it up here as well. It's just in case I did the hard copy, just in case. All right, so we'll go ahead and start with the Dutch Village. I will kind of just hit the highlights and then turn it over to Mark. But we are in the process still of replacing some of the damaged equipment there. You can see that picture. And so, the bottom picture under the overview. We're still working with our risk manager on trying to finalize the funding we're going to get back from the damage. But that being said, we're still moving forward with getting some designs and stuff, and I'll have Mark talk about that. Okay, I'll let you finish then. That was all.
We're hoping by the next meeting in June that we'll have 3 different setups of plans of designs for a playground. We're kind of looking at one that's more of a modern style, more of a typical, and then one more of like a clubhouse nature type thing. Granted, taking into consideration, this is just a neighborhood park, not a off the wall park. Some of the things we've got a lot of different things that we're going to do there. The playground that is there is after meeting with the Game Time who made this piece of playground equipment, and after looking at it, we just due to the fact it's 25 years old, the whole thing needs to come out. We just need to start from scratch. So that's where we're at, and we're hoping that they just got us what it would cost to replace at today's day and time for what is exactly there. So it's pretty much the way insurance works is it's going to be replacement cost, but we probably will spend more to get this park a lot better than what it as a neighborhood park. that's where we're at on that end of it.
Do you know where this was in the 10-year plan to replace this equipment?
Actually, I believe Dutch Village was last year or this year.
So there should be some money in a budget somewhere?
There is money, CIP money that is there. There is quite a bit, hopefully that will get brought by insurance to pay for part of it. But, average size playground these days, to get pretty much a basic playground, everything, and that's one of the things we will show y'all is the 5-bar AstroTurf, form place, the different types of fall zone material. And this actual footprint of this playground, due to the fact of the sidewalk, it was done probably 30 years ago. There's a lot of things that need to be redone, and this sits kind of in a hole. So this area is just we're pretty much gonna totally get rid of everything and start from scratch and build this area up so it doesn't have a lot of runoff coming across that playground area.
So when you mentioned there's three different kind of visions, if you will, for what you're gonna do, just curious, is it the same company provides three different visions, or do you have three different? Yep.
We have, this particular company is on the buy board, and most playground companies are on the buy board. We went ahead and went with the company that originally put this piece of playground in, which is Game Time. They've got multiple different types of equipment that they have in different styles. So that's what due to the fact that we were working with him to get all these prices, to get the insurance to cover it, we have looked into them giving us some stuff. It's not necessarily that that's who we're going with, but it gives us a base and allows y'all to see what we're deciding, and y'all to help kind of decide, hey, we like this one. No, we don't like this one. And then we can move forward. And if we need to go with a different vendor, then we will go with a different vendor. Because they range in multiple different prices depending on certain vendors. It's like buying a low grade this and it will only last you 5 to 10 years, or you buy one that's going to last you 25 years, or one that's going to last you 30, 35 years. And it all is with how the material's built. The way that I'm having this one spec'd out, due to the fact of just experience of being in the field, the barriers that are plastic on the playgrounds, you'll have like a metal barrier to keep the kid from falling off, or you'll have a plastic where there's like game activities, things that they can do. They have a lot of them will have, it's a hollow plastic. It's got two sides, but it's all hollow. And this Texas sun tends to bake those after about 10 years, and they start cracking and they start breaking down. Well, there's some newer things that is more of a composite plastic. It's totally solid, and you don't see that kind of wear, and it will last many, many years to come.
It reduces maintenance.
I'm sorry?
Reduces maintenance.
Yes, it does. And I mean, I know that there was a lot of kickback with stainless steel slides at Hoya. We're looking at this particular playground because it's a smaller type playground. It might have a bigger footprint, but it's smaller. We're looking at totally covering the whole thing with a shade structure that keeps the sun from beating on the plastic slides. But we also could go with stainless slides, and you don't have to worry about the graffiti and kids cutting into it and everything else. But if it's covered with a shade structure, you don't have to necessarily worry about the sun as much. And there's some cooling technologies that we're finding out with these newer stainless steel slides that, yes, they get hot, but the amount of the speed you're coming down them, and this cooling technology is hot, a little hot. The temperatures are just totally different wherever you take the temperature on a lot of these metal slides now. So they do cost a little more, the slide bar, but you got to weigh your odds with it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And I'll just put one more point, that the reason we want to bring these back for the board to check out is because when we bring this to council, when we purchase the equipment, we want to make sure we have a recommendation from the board so that they'll see that the board has kind of given their okay on how to, because I think that's something I think they're going to want to see when we go purchase the new equipment. So, and that'll probably be how we move forward with some of these bigger, if they're purchases like this, we want to make sure we have board input before we take it to council. So.
Okay.
And we'll go ahead and, you want to talk about John Burke, where we're at, Mark?
John Burke. The septic system and everything, it has not been installed yet due to the rain, and they want a good long enough period to put the septic system in because of the location of where it's at, and it's a tricky area that they're putting it. And then with the rain, it's just too muddy for them to continue to start, and they want to have a good week to 2 week window to do the job without getting rained out on a slope. There's some areas at John Burke that we just had a study done on it for the ADA. And there's a few things that contractors are gonna have to come back and tweak due to the fact it does not meet ADA, the study that was supposed to be done. And that's gonna be pretty much on the vendor who put that in. And we're going from there. And we did receive a phone call about snakes being at the nature area, and we're going to put some snake signs out for it.
I walk every Saturday. I've
Yes,
never seen any snakes. I'm just curious any idea on where, I want to know where these snakes are. So
Believe it or not, and I was very skeptical about it because they said it was a western cottonmouth, and most of the water snakes that I've seen around here is what we call a diamondback water snake. That's rawhide. They're non-venomous, but this particular snake was a cottonmouth. There is copperheads down there. I mean, it's a nature area, and you really can't, with the water that comes in from the rains and it comes up from the river, you're going to have those kind of things. We are going to put out some warning signs and have some other signs done that that way they're a little more aware of their surroundings when they're down there, because it is nature. There is bobcats, there's pigs, there's coyotes, there's multiple different animals down there besides reptiles.
Okay.
All right.
Can I add one thing?
Yes,
Most people don't realize that early in the morning as the sun's coming up and going down, that's when the snakes are most active. And if you get off of the trail, that's when you're gonna see them. Maybe y'all can add informational whiteboard.
That's kind of what we're doing. We're actually trying to do, there's some signs, we're gonna do about 2 signs that do more of identifying snakes a little bit more. And then we're also putting, I'm sorry.
Like the ones that Boya?
Yes, there's already some down at John Burke that talk
Yeah.
about some of the different types of animals that are in the area. I don't know anything about whitetail being down there, but there has been some spotted around the area, but I've never have seen any down there. I have seen pigs, and the pigs are not on there. But these signs, they have some color descriptions, and probably they're gonna have different types of snake, poisonous and or venomous and non-venomous. And then we have some others that we're getting brought in now until we can get those done that are actually caution there is venomous snakes here. So. And if you want to know where it was, if you went back to the big lookout,
Yeah.
if you go around this way, due to the fact that the water's been up,
Yeah.
it's at the pond area, and it was just kind of in one of the little runoff areas.
Okay.
So, but pretty much if you stay on the decomposed granite
Right.
and you don't get off the beaten path,
Yeah.
you should be okay. But I would say that a copperhead would very well blend in to that decomposed granite, depending on if it was the brown and the kind of tan copperhead versus an orange one. So they've got several different colored patterns on a copperhead that I've seen around this area.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
okay, you want to move on to Hoya? I'll go ahead and, I will just say, before I turn over, Mark, we have had improved communications with Compan, the vendor, in regards to some of we've set up weekly meeting with them to review kind of where we are in regards to some of the items we're waiting to hear back on, just to kind of keep us up to date. So they're following through on some of the promises that they've made to get back with us. So we'll hope things are going to be back on track. They did send us a solution for Zipline. We're reviewing that right now to see, if that's something we want to have them pursue or not. So, and I'll let Mark speak more to that. So just to let you all know, and we did talk to council about some of the infrastructure improvements we want to make, and we're working on those right now. So, Mark and his crew are putting together some, pricing for the permanent fence so we can move the construction fence out of there. We're working with our IT on security cameras. Mark already has a vendor for getting some added security lighting. And then, I think those are the three big, and then we're looking at the end, probably adding some shade to the gate area, the main gate for staff that are working in that area. So, and we are still continuing with staffing on the weekends and monitoring that. We're still to Friday, Saturday, Sunday evenings, late in the day. And we're still having pretty good crowds. So, it's all weather pending, but when we have nice weather, we have pretty good crowds. So,
Non-resident street staff, okay?
yeah, I think as far as I know, we haven't had any issues. So yeah, we'll keep that up. And if we see we monitor it and it starts to slack off, then we'll start to adjust. We have made some adjustments, reducing some staffing levels based on some of the numbers we had coming in initially. But for example, there's, holidays coming up with Memorial Day. So we're going to staff up a little bit for those weekends. So we can see some of those kind of come 4th of July week, we might have a little bit more staffing out there. So, we'll monitor that and kind of keep up with it. So
Some of those, do you want any of us to volunteer? Oh,
I can definitely put you guys in the queue if you guys want to help with that. Sure. That'd be great. Okay. I'll make a note. All right, Mark, do you want to speak to the other
I had a
items?
hand up.
On the fencing.
Oh, yes.
Have we just made a determination of what that would be and getting bids? Or are you still looking at various types?
The material that we're probably gonna use, well, I shouldn't say probably, we are gonna use is black wrought iron fence.
Like we've done over here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's what we're looking at putting around it. There's some, not discrepancy, but a decision-making process. We're gonna, kind of the same footprint that, where that temporary fence is right now, it's gonna follow pretty much that same area. We're gonna have to finagle a few things to make it work, but we're also adding onto that area, but it will be by having a center gate to include the green space, a little more green space so that people can do it. But we don't want to just do one big whole area because we're trying to condense what the real capacity really should be within that area of that square footage with the amount of people that can be on that equipment. And when you do the figures and you work with Compan to figure out what everything is truly there's only should be about 200 people. And that's included on every piece of equipment that's out there. We've got the amount of 20 people per level on the sphere. And then the top lot has all the different little pieces. And you take everything into consideration to where how many people are allowed. And it's right at about 200, maybe a little over. But when you add in the kids and the parents and everything else, we're just trying to keep it right at 200. Because it just seems that's the perfect amount of people within the space that we have fenced off. So,
that is the walking paths open.
I'm sorry.
It is the walking paths.
Yes, we're probably going to use the walking path because that way we can anchor directly to it with base plates on the poles, the upright poles. And we will try to do the best we can to follow the concrete pathway. That pathway is 8 feet wide, I believe. So you're looking at maybe taking away probably 8 to 12 inches off the side of it to make that fence work going around it. And we think that's going to be the most adequate. And then when it gets on the backside over by the zip line and everything, we're going to hop up on the actual concrete ribbon. And it will follow that concrete ribbon. And then at one point it will have to go into the grass on the backside, but then we'll come back up the other sidewalk on the north side. So the zip line, the goal to that is to, on the exit side of it, they're going to totally remove, what they're projecting is to remove that part of the zip line, totally pull it out. They're going to cut out the concrete, and we've discussed it and trying to come to an agreement. That area will raise up about 2.5, 3 feet. And that will slow down. That should give more of a, they have it, we're thinking, and with what they're thinking by shooting it with lasers and everything that they did, was you've got about a 4.5 foot hill here. Then it's supposed to be flat. Well, we're thinking they didn't take into consideration the fall of the land. So it's about an extra 2 foot, but it's right there on the perimeters of it. But Rob, me, and several of us others, we don't like the speed that the people travel, and the heavier you are, the faster you go, the harder you hit, and the more you fling. So so pretty much we looked at it several different ways on what to do, but the most smartest thing to do is raise the whole thing, everything up, which once you do that, it takes the slope off of here, so it's not as bad of a slope. So that would be.
Like kids and not as enticing to adults.
Yes, and we have seen 3 people trying to ride down that little bitty chair, and I don't know. I tried to get on it and it just didn't fit right, so I just couldn't do it. But the weight limit for that's 250 pounds is what they recommend, and that's what it's set at 150 pounds. But there's enough there that if somebody at that weight level adequately, that's what it's made for, up to that amount. But it also is for, with the sign there, 5 to 12. So that's.
Well, if you take some of the speed away, you're gonna take some of those adults who are enjoying it for the speed.
Make it a little more boring.
Yes, exactly.
And that's one of our concerns. I mean,
But the kids will still like it. 'Cause they're-
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Any other questions on Hoya?
I have one good comment.
On Hoya?
Yes.
Okay.
My neighbor lives right next to Jamie Stark, where they put that new fence in around the soccer field. And he expressed some concern about creating pinch point for an active shooter if that fence goes up around Hoya, having one entrance and exit.
There is, and the way that we've been doing it as of right now is and that is a good thing to point out. We're hoping eventually that we don't have to have people staff there, and that we can have, and when we put this fence in, it will have multiple gates. It's just they won't all be open. And that's the issue we're having, because if we have people working, we're having coming in, there is 2 gates there now. It's more of an emergency, throw it open so people can get out. But that's when people are working, when they're there. So thank you for bringing that up. We need to put that on our forethought as well. Because we've pondered this back and forth a lot on this fence. I don't want it to go up, to be honest, but we've got to do something to curtail the amount of people in the crowd that are there.
We'll run it by public safety, get their
Yes.
input. But thanks for bringing that up. Mhm. Anything else on Hoya?
Are we still seeing a lot of people from out of town or non-resident coming up?
I don't have a breakdown of the numbers of non-residents. I haven't gotten any calls, which is a good thing. So I think the line moves pretty fast, if there is one. The times I've driven by when we're staffing it, I haven't really seen much of a line, but usually it's a little earlier in the day. I think typically when it gets close to dark is when you have some of the bigger crowds on the weekend. So
The lights are the draw of it. That's what everybody wants. That's when we're seeing the most people coming in. But it's like any new toy, when the shine starts to wear off, it's starting to kind of taper down. We got our fingers crossed. There's a couple of cities next door that are building some new parks, and we're hoping maybe they'll outdo us, but I don't think they will. But we're hoping. But Louisville's got a couple of them that are, there's different cities that are trying to build and duplicate this park. And because I've received multiple calls in the last several months, talking to everybody from Waco to Atlanta, Georgia, just what we did, how we went about it, and the things they needed to look out for. Denton was out here 2 weeks ago and we had to answer with their council and Parks Board, everything on it, so.
Okay, well, next item is the venue 1842. I think a lot of you were able to attend the preview that we had. It was successful. We did have some events that we alluded to earlier when you guys were discussing the minutes. We ended up having to cancel 3 events that we had in May. We do have an event scheduled for this coming weekend, and we're hopeful, and we're very close to getting our CO, or we'll be able to. We're planning on having the event on Saturday. Not this one, but actually Sunday, I think the 26th. And then the goal is to have some soft opening events through the summer, and then look for more of a grand opening dedication to the building, probably late summer, maybe late August, September timeframe. We're still kind of trying to figure out timing on that. But we'll definitely keep the board up to date on how that moves. We have held off, I think, on having a lot of our full bore events until we get through some of the kinks of the building for this next couple months, with some of these soft opening events. And then that hopefully will get us ready for when we'll go ahead and start booking later in the year, but we won't kind of go full kilter yet. We're kind of easing into this a little bit. So we are going to start landscape here pretty soon. We need to get the contractor kind of to the point where they don't have any more exterior things to do. So we're hoping in the next couple of weeks we'll start working on all the landscape. There's quite a bit to do with a lot of irrigation repair and things around the building. So that's another thing. We want all the landscape in and get it to where it's good to go. We have what we call punch list items. So we've done our punch list with the architect. And so contractors got a pretty long list of some things they need to take care of, but we're working right now on how long it's going to take them to do those punch lists, but we still can move into the building and they can be working on those items at the same time. So anyway, so it's moving. We're almost to the very, very end of the project. So yes, ma'am.
Is there any thought or plan for utilizing that facility at all for July? People are asking, so
Yeah,
you're thinking.
I know that a couple of the soft opening, I don't know what we're going to use for July 3rd yet. I know we'll definitely have to be ready for bluegrass. And then some of the soft things opening items we're looking at are, I know the senior mixer. The seniors have their mixer events once a month.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking to try and do a couple of those in the summer, because they're anxious to get in the building too. So, but that'll help us kind of work through some of those. But I'm just not sure we're going to be, because I'm a little concerned on some of the landscape and things around it for 4th of July. So I'm not sure where we'll be. So, but by bluegrass, we'll be in good shape for sure.
I'm hoping that we were able to get in there after Memorial Weekend and start doing some of the things that we need to do. We still need to get the grade right. We're actually going to be redoing the whole sprinkler system in that whole area because so much damage was done. And then we also need to come in and start doing the landscape work around it. And as Rob was saying, we're still trying to get the contractor to finish up what he needs to finish up, because I don't want our guys wasting their time getting things ready just for them to bring another big lift in. And there's some soil out there that, due to that construction, is very soft. And our guys do all that work and then turn around, they bring a big piece of equipment in and sink it to its axles. We're wasting our time. So we want them done around the exterior. And I would probably say they might show the building maybe on the 3rd. I'm not going to promise it, but if we're things go right and we're done with landscape, I'm still gonna leave it fenced off with the parade barricade deals, because we're not gonna want anybody there, and we're gonna be watering, and it's just keep people from tracking everything up. So
Anybody have any other questions on
When is bluegrass again? What is that? September, October?
October?
mid-October.
Mid-October. All right, well, we'll move on to branch connection. So I appreciate all of you are aware that the bond did pass for the remaining portion, the phase 2 portion items for the branch connection. I just had a meeting this morning with the finance director on process going forward to kind of expedite the project. The goal is for us to not have, so the current contractor was able to bid the entire project. And so we just awarded the first phase of it. So what we're hoping is we just do a change order to the contractor for the phase 2 items, since they've already bid it out. And that'll keep them moving where we're not going to have to stop. It does look like timing on selling the bonds is going to be later this summer or September. And so that said, I think what the finance director, what we're looking at is possibly utilizing fund balance to be able to keep the project moving from general fund, and then reimburse the general fund with the bonds once they get sold. So that way we don't have to wait to get the bonds sold. So, of course, this is all under council review. When we take this, I'd like to be able to take this in July to council to get it approved. And then they're supposed to finish phase 1 at the end of August. So if we can keep everything approved in July, that should keep things moving where we stay on target. Reviewing the bid today, when they had put a time period to do phase 2 of about 10 weeks, but it kind of just depends. We're going to have to get that firm date once we get everything approved. If you go by 10 weeks based on the end of August, then, that puts them done by the end of the year. But we've just got to get with them. Once it gets approved, we just have to get with the contractor and tell us, okay, give us a date. You're going to be able to get everything done. I would expect it. The thing we don't have to worry about is exterior and weather and things like that. Everything's inside, and they've done a good job of keeping they're meeting their targets on the current project. So, yeah, I think we're going to be in good shape. So if the one thing we don't want to do is we kind of learned our lesson a little bit with venue, or with the event center. So we want to make sure it's to a point where we know before we set a date that we're going to open, that it's ready to go. So, and we do have to buy furniture for the next phase, and we got to move all the staff back in, and clean up. And so even once we say construction's done and we can get back in, there's going to be a little time to get everything ready to go to get it open. So,
How is supply chain issues that we've seen in the past, how is that affecting the current projects?
it affected the playground a lot on Hoya, because I know some of that but I don't know if it's affected as much the interior construction.
It affected the event center on a lot of things. I think some folks are still caught in the 3 or 4 years ago and can't seem to move forward with getting back to business. So supply chain is it's better, but there's still.
I was just curious because you see house construction where they come to a screeching halt
Yes,
and sit there for months without anything else. So I figured there was still some issues, and a lot of it is just businesses can't keep personnel. And so then they can't function at the level that they used to.
can't keep personnel. There's long back orders and people still trying to get stuff, because we ran into with some of the windows and stuff at the event center that should have been here, 4 months ago? And they didn't get them till April. And you go to order something, it's at least 4 to 6 months to try to get things now. And it's getting better, but it just depends on who you're doing business with.
Any other questions on branch connection? All right. I'll give you guys a brief on Mercer. I think we have just Mercer and Squire, but on Mercer, we're getting to the end. I think we've been saying this for a while, but we are hopefully going to get in there and get a final walkthrough on some of the improvements that the developer has done. And then we are still trying to figure out timing of, because the way it's set up right now is we have to be able to have the improvements in for us to get the property. Currently, it's still owned by the developer. So that's the handoff from the developer to us is kind of what we're working through at this point. Hopefully with the weather dying down, we'll be able to get out there next week and walk the project and be able to get a final to the developer and then kind of set a date that we can, the builder is itching to start building townhomes. So they're motivated to kind of get things moving. So we'll see how we move forward, but that's the goal right now is to try to just get the developer out of there, get their improvements completed. We'll then have to start design. We've got proposals back to be able to keep the design chain, the design piece moving. But the goal is to get the south piece usable. So we'll have some trail in there and we'll get turf and trees, and then that'll allow the pickleball piece, the northern piece to kind of, that's what we're really going to be working on to get all that in. So that's the part the city's going to have to go in and put in. So anyway, so that's kind of where we are. Does anybody have any questions on Mercer? Right. And then Squires, we haven't made much headway. We have got a final proposal back on the design, and we'll probably look at packaging those designs for Mercer and Squire together to probably for council here pretty soon. We'll get on one of those agendas here in the next month or so and get that moving. So does anybody have any questions on any of the projects?
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you very much. So moving on, next section is section C.3. Receive Parks Maintenance Division update.
You got anything, Mark, you want to go over with the board on maintenance?
As far as maintenance, the guys have been doing my shut dog job right now. We've been trying to with this new reorganization that we did, a lot of them are still playing catch up, trying to get some things looking a lot better than what they have been in the last couple of years. It's going to take some time. We've got one gentleman that's already started on Valley View, starting to tear out some older plants and getting it. So you're going to see some bare areas and choosing the right plants to go back in it. There's a lot of bushes that have been neglected for probably 12 years on some of the right of ways that our goal right now is to bring them back so they're a manageable deal. So they're going to look pretty raggedy right now. We're going to get them back down to about an 8 foot and then manage them between 9 to 10 foot. So if you see some of these, I'll just say naked hedges or bare hedges, it's going to be pretty bad, but they have overgrown themselves to the point that they have choked their foliage from underneath out. So the only way to do it is to pretty much chop the tops off, get all the dead out from all the neglect and the winter storms to get them to start trying to fill back in. So please be prepared, because they did start the other day. And the one that I saw yesterday scared me. I still got to go back by and look again tomorrow. But we've got several of those hedges that are on multiple major streets, and that's the drawback of having 30 and 40-year-old and 50-year-old landscapes that are kind of at that point where some things have been neglected and some things have been taken care of, and the guys are doing their best to try to get those things taken care of, so.
Is that like the ones along Valley View, particularly close to Marsh when you're headed east?
Bee Van Alley on the
Yeah,
south side of Valley View,
Yeah,
from Templeton to Marsh.
uh-huh,
Uh-huh.
okay, good.
Those have,
I'm wondering what was gonna happen.
those have not been topped. I know that one of our gentlemen trimmed the back of them about a week ago, 2 weeks ago,
Mhm.
due to the residents going down the alley. Now, the tops, they're pretty high up there, but they've got to come down because there's so much dead in them to try to get them to start filling back in. Once you get to that point of trimming them here and all you've got is all this hanging over the top of them, everything's being choked out by the sun and you're not getting any, you got to open them up to let them see. They started on some that were over by, I guess it's Belfield, Mustang Trail area, Mustang Trail. On the north side, the Shahan area over there, those, they've started on, they at least did the fronts. They still got to come back and cut the tops, but they moved on down by Las Campanas. That's the ones that scared me I saw yesterday. So, they're working on those. Unfortunately, we have to make decisions on what people's stuff hangs over into our stuff, which pushes our bushes out. So we're having to make a choice on cutting some things back on the residents that's hanging over their fence that's overgrown themselves with bushes. So it's just one of those things. We've had several different areas that we're just working with trying to get right. And right now it's getting the pool ready. Hopefully the pool will be ready looking tip top next week for the grand opening or the new opening for the season. So that's where we're at right now.
What about bleachers? When are the bleachers going in here?
Oh, thank goodness. I cannot answer that because that does not pertain to me.
And I forgot to mention, so Jessica is not here today. She had attended, it's her son's birthday today. So we decided to give her off today. So we'll get back on track with rec items. But I'll make a note to see when the bleachers are coming again.
I was just curious.
No, that's okay.
I knew it was gonna be a few more weeks, but I wasn't sure.
I'm not sure either. I remember us talking about it. I know that the order was in, supposed to be here. And then me and her were having some conversations about, so we're gonna put brand new bleachers in, but not adjust some walls, some decor on the walls as far as the sound barrier, because it's kind of out of date itself. So they were looking into that as well. So it doesn't make sense to bring bleachers in and then have to move them back out again if you're gonna redo the wall of the sound for that material.
You know, if there'll be a long shutdown of the gym when they go to put those up, or do you have any idea?
I think she was saying that they were going to do like close it halfway down. That way they could work on one end
Mhm.
and then close the other half. So it just depends. But you know, if it's like a week, if they can go in a week and get it done, then they'll probably shut the gym down a week and that way they just blow through it, get it done versus doing a section at that time.
It's like, oh, no, not you. When Maybrook was open, did you guys do the hedging on Maybrook?
I'm sorry.
Maybrook, the street they closed between Josie and Webb Chapel near the dirt pile?
Oh, that imaginary hill and all that over there.
Yeah, but
Yes, we used to take care of those
Not imaginary.
many years ago. We did
Um,
many years ago.
Is it safe to walk down that?
down Maybrook?
The road's closed.
I know the road's closed, that's why I said walk.
I mean, that's the areas, it's closed road.
Okay.
That's pretty much closed to theoretically, any
Any
traffic, meaning motorist or pedestrian walking or bicycle. I would not recommend, just me personally, I wouldn't want to go down there because the road has not been maintained in probably 5, 6 years now.
Well, and there's also vagrants back there.
I'd
There's,
say
there's
that-
a very, I was gonna say, there's a very active, homeless group that frequents that area. We've had, when I was in the sustainability group, we were in charge of kind of some of the cleanup areas, and that was the first one that I dealt with was Maybrook. And actually, we have activity all from there, all the way down, crossing Josie over to, because all the way to along Via Creek as well, the same channel.
My back out.
Yeah, the bridges, they like the bridges under those areas when it's not raining. But usually it was the summer when it was the heat of the summer and it wasn't raining. They were very active. We were working with the MetroCrest to try and address some of that as well, but
Well,
They're-
and
they're-
I did a homeless camp in MetroCrest in January, and there's definitely.
Yep.
homeless residents there.
They're not selective on where they go.
No,
I mean, if they can find a place and they're not gonna be disturbed and nobody's gonna bother them, that's where they're gonna find their place to go. Early in the mornings when I'm on my way to work, it's kind of strange seeing people with their travel bag going down the street, but it's, we have issues at our public bathrooms in the parks. We have to check them every day, early in the morning, and the guys have to come back, check them again, because they could check them 1 minute and then they come from the woods or whatever from somewhere else and roll their belongings into
well, when
the,
I was leaving the open house for the event center, I'm walking down Ford Road and over my shoulder, about 20 feet back, all of a sudden there's a man with his bicycle, who then went under the bridge at Ford Road to spend the night. So,
yes.
I mean, it's a concern, but my thing with Maybrook is,
the hedges.
well, no, it's not just the hedges. It's the synergies between sustainability and us. There is, that could become a lovely trail should we choose to do that.
I think there needs to be some decisions on what Maybrook's gonna be.
Yes.
'Cause I don't know with this, if they sell it, because TxDOT owns the property currently. And I'm assuming when they sell it, after all the work is done on 35,
Mhm.
they'll sell it to a private developer, and then I'm assuming they'll keep Maybrook as a road to service that property, but I just don't know. I'm not sure.
One of the reasons it was shut down is because of the amount of construction equipment that was going down it,
Mhm.
and they tore it up.
Oh, badly.
And at that point in time, the city decided to shut it down for the state to take it over.
Mhm.
The way that the property, I guess you call it the plat of the land there, the way that it is, they actually own, there's some areas that are across the creek,
Mhm.
little cutout areas. They actually own that there too, because the way that the property lays out, but it's from Josie all the way to Webb Chapel, 635 Service Road, to up past, I believe it is up to the opposite curb line of Maybrook where the bushes are.
Mhm.
And when you really get to looking at it, some of it is where those bushes are actually the states, some's the cities. And we're going through these easement deals right now that we're been working on with some other departments, and it's all terminology of right of way, alley, easement, and it's finding the definition of actually what something is, or if it's a parkway. It's really hard trying to distinguish between when you're looking at these plats and where it actually says an easement on your property or on your deed, or what's been deeded, or what's an alley or an easement, which depending on where you live here, you have an easement in the front, an easement on each side of your house, and you have an alley in the back or an easement. So that's why it's a difficult. Maybrook's one of those ones that it's been going back and forth. Who's really responsible for it?
I know people were upset when they lost the option for vehicular traffic, and I think if an option were made for pedestrian or bicycle traffic with the trail plan, and again, we're looking 5 years out, that might be interesting, but you know, TxDOT has to get their act together. too.
Yes.
Yeah.
If it was up to me, I'd go out there with a backhoe and I'd rip every bush down, so it opened it all up and there wouldn't be any problem, but the outcome of what it might be if we did do that, it just depends.
The good thing there's self-control.
Well, I mean, you have read, we'll take it where you live, okay? If you lived opposite of that area
Mhm.
and those shrubs were there and you were kind of relying on them, even though you have a fence or a brick wall, you kind of, some of those folks rely on those bushes as a sound barrier.
Mhm.
So it's, it just depends on which you want to take from that and what's worth fighting. So.
Put that street down and TxDOT's utilizing that property, the street eventually goes back to generate this TxDOT. Any of that?
The developer who will put it in, and it will end up reverting back to the city more than likely, or pretty much it's the city's street.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I think that we're beginning to see some of the beautification come back since you changed the pattern.
Yes, ma'am.
Few years there, the pattern has changed from how to work. Now that you've gone back to a different system, I think you can see that.
There is, we just, like I said, we're steadily working on it, and I've got one area that's really under my crawl right now that they need to get out and take care of right now. So I'm not very happy, but they'll be out there next week. But they're doing their best to get back because they actually can take more of an ownership
Right.
because it's their property.
Yeah,
So-
we can see that. Yeah.
They're really nice too. I encountered them at a property, so they're good group.
We have a very good group of gentlemen, so.
Well, on that same note, thank you all very much for recognizing.
No problem.
Workers do that kind of work, get awards or whatever. We need to be sure that they're very recognized. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, thank you.
No problem.
Nice things with him. He was very.
Thank you very much. Any other comment, questions? If not, we'll move to section C4, where we can receive an update from board members on parks, programs, events, or facilities attended by in the city of Farmers Branch. Anybody got any comments?
Did you have a question?
I just wanted to point out that I drove by the community garden and saw that they had filled in that area that was open for the sewer system. So I was curious if you had anything on that. Seems like it's getting.
Their Public Works, I guess their project to go ahead and finish some of that infrastructure, they did get emergency funding to do finish the channel and the underground drainage and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully that'll improve that whole area. Now, the garage that's built, that's still got a long way to go, but the goal is to try to get all that infrastructure and get the stormwater systems back and going. So I'm hoping they move pretty quick on all that and get the road open again and all that goes by the hospital. And so I don't know what the timeline is to complete all that, but I'm just glad they're doing it because when I was dealing with stormwater, we were out there quite a bit. So.
Thank you. Anything else? Any other comments? So go to the next section, C4. Any updates from any board members? So I'll start. I thought the 1842 event was amazing. I thought it's a wonderful project and I think it's going to really, really be nice once you guys get it all done, but it was very impressive. Very well done. Also, I went to the second musical event, the one with the Latino event. And we had just the opposite situation on that one. I felt bad for the vendors at that one because there was not much of a turnout. And I don't know how we can figure out, I don't know how you break the code to figure out how many people are going to come or not come. But on the one before, I felt bad for the vendors because they were slammed because there were so many people there and they couldn't process all the people. This one, there were so few people there that I felt bad for the vendors. I thought, man, they're probably not gonna cover their cost at this event because there were so few people
I
there.
think
So,
and weather was a big issue.
Event and Drive Live, yeah, whatever, yeah, it's a Latino event. It was, I'm sorry, it was 2 Latino bands. I actually just sat for the first one. Unfortunately, it was also kind of raining that night. It wasn't raining hard. It was raining just enough to be a nuisance. But, and I left, I didn't stay for the second one, and then it started raining later that night, so. But I just felt bad for I felt bad for the vendors of that one, because there's so many people there,
Right.
so,
Were there about the same number of vendors, food trucks?
yeah.
I think we had three or four.
The time before that there was an issue, it was, they had 2 or 3. I think this time they had 4 or 5.
I thought it was the same, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
It was, I thought it was about the same amount, but, see, I felt bad for them,
Yeah.
because there just wasn't anybody, I mean,
Yeah, the weather just really.
Well, they called it early.
Yeah, we ended up shutting down probably not long after you left.
oh, really?
Yeah, because the rain got heavier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Around about 9 o'clock, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's up, anyway.
Well, we got another one in
Control.
June, and then we got another one in July after 4th of July. So we've got 2 more of those. So hopefully, and usually when you get into June and July, then it's just hot. So,
Yeah.
but there hopefully won't have any more storms coming in.
You just don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah, well, you have no control over that. I think the venue's great. I actually
Mhm.
think we went to the one where it was before. I think it's better. I think the way
I
it is
agree.
now is actually a better venue.
Yeah, I think we're gonna refocus most events back to Historical Park just because it's just a better venue for most of the events.
Well, that construction, that just.
Correct.
Well, and the trees were starting to show stress from having all the activity on them in the grove.
Mhm.
If you return the grove to a little bit softer, more natural state,
Mm.
it'll preserve it.
Those oaks there don't like it.
Any other comments, questions, thoughts? Okay, next section is C5, discuss potential agenda items for future meetings. Anybody have anything? Oh, the other thing too is, and forgive me if I'm out of turn and not speaking at the right time, but Linda, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for sending out that email that told us, hey, on this particular day, there's going to be the HVAC thing, and because I'm here 5 days a week, and I'm very thankful you let us know that, because I'll confess when I was working out, all of a sudden I heard all this noise, I go, what is going on? And then they were doing all this stuff, and I said, man, maybe we talked about that, I missed it, maybe we talked, and anyway, just thank you for informing me.
Of the divisions, because I'm the liaison, they're letting Rob know, who lets me know, hey, get this out to the board, because we try to keep, VIP
Well,
informed of, hey, this is going on in case you happen to be at one of these centers. And this stuff going on. Yeah, we just want to keep everybody informed.
Well, it's nice because
Yeah.
sometimes I have a neighbor who will say, well,
Mhm.
what's this? Or
Yeah.
what's going on? What happened there? And I said, well, and explain it
Yeah.
or.
As opposed to, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we
It's
wanna-
helpful.
The parks maintenance, and we're gonna have a recreation division update on the agendas from here on out, just so you guys can have questions. I think it helped today when it's not necessarily project related, but because you guys are out in the community and you see things. It's also a time for us to tell you, but then for you to tell us if you see anything specific to maintenance or anything going on in any of the rec facilities. So the senior center and the rec and pool and all that. So, don't hesitate. You can always do it anytime, but this is just another opportunity for us to kind of have a little,
And some
Interaction.
sunshine starts next.
Yeah, it does.
and the pool opens next weekend too.
Next weekend.
Mhm.
Memorial weekend, when the
Mhm.
kids get off. Start that. Kids program.
And let me just give you all, and it hasn't been on the agenda, but just from an operational on the rec side, we've been doing a lot of work to get aquatic staff pay adjusted. We were having trouble getting lifeguards and things like that. Our pay was below a lot of the other surrounding cities. So our HR department and city manager supported some of those changes. That way a lot of cities do bonuses and different things like that. and we've done ours a little bit different. We made some adjustments to how we offer our lifeguard classes and things like that too, to help with recruitment. So it's helped. It's helped a lot. And I think we're going to try and carry that over to the budget for next year as well. But and it's just one of those things where I can remember when I did the pool 30 years ago, we were the highest paying group around. So now we kind of dropped a little bit. It's amazing to me. We still pay lifeguards almost $20 an hour, but
One of the low.
yeah, yeah. So we needed to kind of get to work on that. But anyway,
Well, people probably jumped when they were having issues getting there.
correct. Yeah,
Your
it's
staffing
it's a struggle. It really is. You know, kids just don't want to do that job anymore. And you know, we do a good job of recruiting at the at the natatorium with the swim teams and stuff, but there's only so many kids that do that, and you've got so many pools between us and Carrollton and some of these other areas. So, and they're usually going to go, because we're all so close. They're usually, it's like, well, I'm just going to go who pays me the most, right? Because I mean, it's not that much further. You know, their loyalty it's not necessarily like it used to be. So, anyway, just let you guys know.
Are you comfortably staffed for the?
Yes, I think we are, and Summer Funshine as well. You know, we've had to make some adjustments there too, but yeah, that was a little more manageable. We have to hire so many lifeguards for the outdoor stuff. It's just, you know, and it's way more competitive than the camp stuff. So, anyway, that's all I had. Sorry, just thought I'd throw that tidbit in there.
Yep. Yes, Jennifer.
I have one quick small revenue stream right before the summer starts. Boy Scouts, or Scouting America or whatever, that a lot of the summer camps and stuff like that require swim classifications that they have online. And I had to go to YMCA to get mine done. It was 15 minutes and I think they charged me $10 just to prove that I can swim. So the summer camp for the kids that it's safe. And then a lot of the kids will get done in advance too. And that's just a quick revenue stream that's like 15 minutes in the pool, $10.
A swim test, just your swim test, or
It's the BSA swim classification. I'll
Okay.
send you, with the links directly from the Scouts page.
Okay.
To see what all- For me as a swimmer, I had to do 4 links of the pool, 3 of them forward stroke, 1 of them on my back, and then I had to float and I had to like jump in the water, head over, water overhead.
okay, yeah, we can. I'll get with them and see.
I definitely would not pass that test. No, thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. It's a good idea. Anything else? Any other ideas on future agenda items? Any? Do we have a motion to conclude the meeting?
Moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you very much. Also, thanks. This is good, guys. I like this. Thank you. Thank you. I'm the same way.
Yeah, that was one.
So it's like belts and suspenders. You got a hard copy, you got it on the thing, you got it covered no matter what.